Most people have spent a 1967 penny without ever thinking twice about it. But what if I told you that some of these ordinary-looking coins have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and that one small detail on your penny could completely change its value? The 1967 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is one of the most misunderstood coins in American history. It doesn't look rare. It doesn't shine like gold. It doesn't scream valuable. Yet collectors across the country search through jars, drawers, and inherited collections every day hoping to find one special example hiding in plain sight. So what makes this penny so interesting? Why does it have no mint mark at all? And how can a coin worth just 1 cent suddenly become worth hundreds or more? Let's uncover the story behind the 1967 Lincoln penny, a coin that proves sometimes the most ordinary things can carry the most surprising value. The 1967 Lincoln penny is part of the famous Lincoln cent series that began in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and it quickly became one of the most collected coins in American history. By 1967, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for nearly 60 years. The familiar design showed Abraham Lincoln on the front, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the back, instead of the wheat stalks seen on earlier pennies, the coin featured the Lincoln Memorial, which had been introduced in 1959. Now here's where things get interesting. Every 1967 penny was struck without a mint mark. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, just a blank space below the date. And this wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. To understand why, we need to go back to the mid-1960s, when the United States faced one of the biggest coin shortages in its history. During the early 1960s, Americans began pulling coins out of circulation. Silver prices were rising, and people feared coins would disappear. Some hoarded them, others collected them. Vending machines needed coins, businesses needed change. But suddenly, coins were becoming harder to find. The U.S. Mint was under pressure to solve the problem fast. In response, Congress passed special laws allowing the mint to dramatically increase coin production. But they did something else too, something unusual. From 1965 through 1967, mint marks were completely removed from all U.S. coins. The idea was simple. If collectors couldn't tell where coins were made, they'd be less likely to hoard them. That would keep coins circulating and help solve the shortage. So every 1967 penny, whether it was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, looks exactly the same. No mint mark, just the date, the portrait of Lincoln, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. In 1967 alone, more than 3 billion pennies were minted. That's billion with a B. On the surface, that makes this coin seem extremely common, and most examples are. But not all 1967 pennies are created equal. Let's take a closer look at what this coin is made of and how it was designed. The 1967 Lincoln penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. This makes it heavier and more solid feeling than modern pennies, which today are mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. If you hold a 1967 penny in your hand, you're holding a true copper coin, something the US Mint stopped producing in the early 1980s. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date to the right. Beneath the date is where a mint mark would normally appear, but on this coin, that space is blank. On the back, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, with the words United States of America at the top, 1 cent at the bottom, and E pluribus unum above the building. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, one of the most detailed reverse designs ever used on a circulating US coin. Most 1967 pennies look exactly like this, but some have small differences, tiny flaws, unusual features, or production mistakes that turn them into collector treasures. And that's where the real value begins. Most 1967 pennies in everyday condition are worth only 1 or 2 cents. Even uncirculated examples usually sell for just a few dollars. But rare varieties and error coins can bring much higher prices, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One of the most valuable types is the 1967 penny struck on the wrong metal planchet. During coin production, blanks, called planchets, are fed into presses that stamp them into coins. Occasionally, a blank meant for another denomination or metal composition ends up in the wrong machine. Some 1967 pennies have been discovered struck on silver planchets meant for dimes, or on brass blanks intended for foreign coins. These errors are extremely rare and highly sought after. In one documented auction, a 1967 Lincoln cent struck on a silver-colored planchet sold for over $3,000. Another unusual metal error brought more than $2,500. Then there are double die errors. These happen when a coin die receives multiple impressions during the manufacturing process, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. On 1967 pennies, doubling can sometimes be seen in the date, the word liberty, or in God we trust. Strong double die examples can sell for several $100s, depending on condition and clarity of the doubling. Another category is off-center strikes. These occur when the planchet isn't positioned correctly in the press, resulting in part of the design missing or shifted. Some 1967 off-center pennies, especially those missing 30% or more of the design while still showing the date, can sell for $100 to $500 or more. Clipped planchets are another collectible error. These coins have a curved or straight section missing from the edge due to a cutting error at the mint. A genuine clipped 1967 penny can sell for $30 to $150, depending on size and condition. And finally, condition plays a huge role. Most 1967 pennies circulated heavily and now show dull color, scratches, and wear. But coins preserved in pristine condition, especially those graded mint, state 67 or higher by professional services, can sell for hundreds of dollars. In fact, one top-graded 1967 penny sold at auction for over $1,000, not because it was rare in mintage, but because it survived nearly perfectly for over half a century. So how do you know if your 1967 penny might be valuable? Start with the basics. First, check the date and mint mark. It should read 1967, and there should be no letter beneath the date. That confirms you have the correct issue. Next, examine the condition. Is the coin shiny with strong details, or dull and worn? Coins with original red copper color and sharp details are worth far more than brown, heavily worn examples. Then look closely for errors. Use a magnifying glass or phone camera and inspect the date, lettering, and Lincoln's face. Look for doubling, missing letters, strange shapes, or anything that looks off-center or unusual. Check the weight too. A standard 1967 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it weighs significantly more or less, it could be struck on the wrong planchet, and that's a major red flag in a good way. Also check the edge. It should be smooth and even. Any strange cuts, curves, or missing pieces could indicate a clipped planchet error. Now let's talk about fakes, because yes, even pennies get counterfeited. Most fake 1967 pennies involve altered dates or added mint marks. Someone might take a common penny and try to modify the date to resemble a more valuable year, or attempt to create fake errors. To avoid this, look closely at the shape of the numbers. Compare them to known genuine examples online. Check for tool marks, scratches, or unusual texture around the date or letters. Real mint errors occur during production and will show smooth, natural-looking surfaces, not rough or scraped areas. If you believe you've found something special, the safest move is to have the coin examined by a reputable coin dealer or sent to a professional grading service for authentication. Now here's something surprising. Despite being made during a massive coin shortage and minted in huge quantities, the 1967 penny is one of the most actively searched modern coins in circulation today. Why? Because it represents a unique moment in US history. A time when the government altered decades of minting tradition just to keep everyday commerce running smoothly. It's also one of the last Lincoln cents made of nearly pure copper, before the mint switched to cheaper materials in the 1980s. And unlike many older coins, 1967 pennies are still commonly found in circulation. That means anyone, literally anyone, could stumble across a valuable example without spending a dime. Another fun fact: the San Francisco Mint produced pennies in 1967, but since mint marks were removed, there's no way to tell which coins came from San Francisco versus Philadelphia or Denver. That makes 1967 one of the few years in US history where mint origin is completely hidden from collectors. Also, while proof coins were made in 1967, they were not sold individually. Instead, the mint issued special mint sets, which featured higher quality coins than circulation strikes, but not quite proof quality. These sets are collectible today, and a pristine 1967 penny from one can sell for significantly more than a regular circulated coin. Collectors love the 1967 penny not because it's flashy, but because it's subtle. It's a coin that rewards patience, curiosity, and attention to detail. Most people glance at it and move on. Collectors stop, examine, weigh, and study it. And every so often, one of those ordinary pennies turns out to be something extraordinary. It's also popular among beginners because it's affordable, accessible, and still full of discovery potential. You don't need to spend thousands to start searching, just pocket change and curiosity. And for seasoned collectors, high-grade examples and rare errors offer serious challenge and reward. Finding a top-condition 1967 penny is surprisingly difficult because most were heavily used during the coin shortage years. That combination, high mintage, heavy circulation, and hidden rarity, makes the 1967 Lincoln cent one of the most interesting modern US coins. So the next time you see a penny dated 1967, don't dismiss it. Look closer, check the date, examine the surface, look for doubling, check the weight, look for off-center strikes, clipped edges, or unusual color, because somewhere out there, sitting quietly in a jar or drawer, could be a small copper coin that escaped half a century of wear, or one that left the mint with a mistake that transformed it from 1 cent into hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And that's the magic of coin collecting. Not knowing, not expecting, but discovering. A simple penny becomes a piece of history, a moment frozen in metal, a reminder that even the most ordinary objects can carry extraordinary stories and sometimes extraordinary value. So before you toss your spare change into a jar or vending machine, take a second look. That quiet little 1967 penny might just be waiting to surprise you. Imagine finding a single penny in your pocket that looks ordinary, but could secretly be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Most people would spend it without a second thought. But what if that 1 cent coin was actually a 1969 Lincoln penny? A coin that has quietly become one of the most searched modern pennies in America. Today, we're diving into the true story behind the 1969 Mint Mark Lincoln penny. Where it came from, what makes it special, how much it's really worth, and how to tell if you might already have one sitting in a jar, drawer, or old coin collection at home. The 1969 Lincoln penny was made at the Denver Mint and features President Abraham Lincoln on the front, just like most Lincoln cents you've seen your entire life. On the back, it carries the familiar Lincoln Memorial design, which was used from 1959 until 2008. At first glance, there's nothing flashy about it. No gold shine, no rare metal, just copper, zinc, and history. But sometimes, the most valuable stories are hidden in the most ordinary objects. To understand this coin, we need to travel back to the late 1960s in America. The country was going through dramatic changes. The Vietnam War was raging, the civil rights movement was reshaping society, and the space race was pushing humanity beyond Earth. Meanwhile, everyday Americans were dealing with rising prices, economic shifts, and a growing interest in saving and collecting coins. By 1969, coin collecting had exploded in popularity. Millions of Americans were checking their change for silver coins, rare dates, and mint marks. The US Mint was producing massive numbers of pennies to meet demand, and the Denver Mint alone struck over 4 billion Lincoln cents that year. Yes, billion with a B. With that many coins produced, you might think none of them could ever be rare. But as history shows, rarity isn't always about how many were made. It's about how many survived in special condition and whether something unusual happened during production. The 1969 D penny was made mostly of copper, about 95%, with the remaining portion made up of zinc and tin. This was the standard composition for Lincoln's cents at the time, just before rising copper prices would force the mint to change materials in the 1980s. The coin weighs about 3.11 grams and has a smooth edge. On the front, Lincoln faces right, just as he has since the design was introduced in 1909. Above his head is the word Liberty. To the right is the date, 1969. And below that date is the small D mint mark, showing it was made in Denver. On the back, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial Building, with tiny statues of Lincoln inside, visible if you look closely. To the average person, it's just another penny. But collectors know better. One of the biggest reasons the 1969 D penny gets attention today is because of what it is often confused with the extremely rare and valuable 1969s double-die penny. That famous coin has sold for tens of thousands of dollars, and in top condition, even more. Because of that, many people search their 1969 pennies hoping they've found a fortune. But here's the twist. The 1969 D penny is not the double-die variety. Still, it has its own story, its own collector demand, and in the right condition, its own impressive value. So what makes the 1969 D penny special? First, it represents the final years of the original copper penny era. Just over a decade later, the US Mint would switch to copper-plated zinc coins because copper became too expensive. That makes these earlier pennies heavier, more solid, and more appealing to many collectors who prefer the old copper feel and look. Second, condition matters a lot. While billions of 1969 D pennies were minted, most were heavily circulated. They passed through hands at grocery stores, gas stations, arcades, vending machines, and banks. Over time, they became scratched, worn, discolored, and damaged. Finding one today in truly uncirculated or near-perfect condition is surprisingly difficult, and that's where real value begins. A worn 1969 D penny is typically worth only face value, 1 cent, maybe 2 or 3 cents if someone wants it for copper stacking. But an uncirculated example, especially one with strong red luster, sharp details, and no damage, can sell for anywhere from several dollars to well over $100. And top-grade examples, they can go even higher. Some professionally graded 1969 D pennies in mint state condition have sold at auction for hundreds of dollars, especially those graded MS66 or higher by major grading services. Coins in this condition look almost as if they were struck yesterday, bright, clean, and flawless. Even more valuable are coins with unusual mint errors. While the 1969 D penny doesn't have a famous double die like its San Francisco counterpart, it can still show striking errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and weak or missing mint marks. These errors can dramatically increase value depending on how noticeable and dramatic they are. For example, a 1969 D penny struck off-center by 10 to 20% might sell for $20 to $75 or more. A dramatic off-center strike showing half the design missing could reach into the hundreds. A clipped planchet, where a piece of the coin's edge is missing due to a metal cutting error, can also bring strong collector interest. And then there are repunched mint marks. In the past, mint marks were stamped onto coins by hand, not automatically. Sometimes the mint worker punched the mint mark slightly off the first time and corrected it by punching again. This created overlapping or doubled-looking mint marks. These varieties are subtle, but collectors love them, and they can significantly increase value if confirmed by a grading service. So how much have real 1969 D pennies actually sold for? In average circulated condition, most sell for 1 cent to 5 cents. But uncirculated examples with strong red color often sell for $10 to $40. Coins graded MS65 can sell for $50 to $100. Higher grade specimens, especially MS66 or MS67, have reached $200, $300 or more at auction. And error coins, those can go even higher, depending on the type and visibility of the mistake. One collector reported finding a nearly flawless 1969 penny in a roll of old bank coins. After professional grading, it sold for over $250. Another example with a dramatic off-center strike brought nearly $400 at auction. These aren't everyday finds, but they're real. That's why so many people continue searching their pocket change, jars, and inherited coin collections. But here's where things get tricky. Because of the fame surrounding the 1969 double die penny, many people mistakenly believe their 1969 penny is worth thousands. Unfortunately, some dishonest sellers have even tried to alter coins to fake doubling or add false mint marks. So knowing how to identify a genuine 1969 penny and what it is not is extremely important. First, look at the date. It should clearly read 1969. Then look just below the date for the mint mark. A small D means Denver. If there's no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. If there's an S, it came from San Francisco, and that's the one collectors check closely for double dies. Now examine the letters and numbers with a magnifying glass. A real double die shows strong, clean doubling, not blurry edges or shadows. Mechanical doubling, which is very common, looks flat and shelf-like and does not add much value. True double dies look bold and rounded, especially on words like liberty and in God we trust. Next, weigh the coin. A genuine 1969 copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it's much lighter, it may be damaged or altered. If it's heavier, that's also a red flag. Also, check the surface. A real coin should show natural wear patterns and toning. If the coin looks unnaturally shiny, scratched in odd ways, or chemically altered, it may have been cleaned or modified, which reduces value. And finally, if you believe you found something special, especially an error coin or high-grade example, professional authentication is key. Third-party grading services can confirm whether your coin is genuine and assign it a grade that helps determine market value. Now let's talk about some fun and surprising facts about the 1969 penny. Did you know that in 1969, the US Mint was still producing coins using largely the same methods it had used for decades, including hand-punched mint marks and manual quality inspections? This human element is exactly why so many fascinating errors exist in coins from this era. Another interesting fact, because copper prices have risen significantly since 1969, the metal inside your penny today may be worth more than 1 cent. Although melting pennies is illegal in the United States, still it shows how economic forces continue to shape even the smallest denominations. Also, the Lincoln Memorial design on the back was the first U.S. circulating coin to feature a building that included another person inside, Lincoln himself, making it a rare case of a portrait within a monument within a coin. And perhaps most fascinating of all, millions of Americans unknowingly saved coins from the 1960s during the Silver Rush era, when people were pulling silver dimes and quarters out of circulation. This means many high-quality 1969 pennies still exist today, but they're hidden in drawers, albums, and forgotten boxes, waiting to be rediscovered. So why do collectors love the 1969 penny today? Because it represents a perfect blend of history, affordability, and potential. It's old enough to feel historic, yet modern enough to still be found in everyday places. It's common enough that beginners can afford it, but rare enough in high grades or error varieties to excite advanced collectors. It also tells the story of America at the end of the 1960s, a time of change, challenge, and progress, preserved in copper and zinc, passed through countless hands, and still circulating quietly through the economy decades later. For some collectors, the appeal is the thrill of the hunt, searching through rolls of pennies from the bank, checking inherited collections, examining jars of old change. That moment when an ordinary coin suddenly becomes extraordinary. For others, it's about history, holding something that existed during one of the most powerful decades in American culture, when astronauts walked on the moon, when music and civil rights reshaped society, and when everyday people used these very pennies to buy newspapers, candy, and coffee. And for a lucky few, it's about discovery, finding a near-perfect specimen or rare error that turns a single cent into a meaningful financial surprise. So what should you do if you find a 1969D penny? First, don't clean it. Cleaning damages the surface and destroys collector value. Second, check its condition. Look for sharp details, strong luster, and minimal marks. Third, examine it for errors, off-center strikes, missing letters, strange shapes, or unusual doubling. And finally, if you think it might be special, consider having it evaluated by a reputable coin dealer or grading service. You may discover it's worth only a few cents, but you may also discover it's worth far more than you ever imagined. Because the truth is, some of the most fascinating treasures aren't buried underground or locked in vaults. They're hiding in plain sight, in pockets, jars, drawers, and forgotten boxes, quietly waiting for. Imagine holding a small piece of history in the palm of your hand, a coin that millions passed by but only a few truly noticed. One penny, minted in 1976 at the Denver Mint, carries more than just copper and zinc. It carries a story that has fascinated collectors for decades. The 1976 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny is not just ordinary change. Its subtle features, its connection to a unique moment in American history, and the possibility that it could be worth far more than its face value make it a coin worth examining closely. Today, we're diving into the story behind this fascinating little penny, exploring what makes it rare, how to spot a genuine example, and why collectors still treasure it more than 40 years later. The 1976 Lincoln penny is part of a long-running series that began in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin features Lincoln's profile on the front, or obverse, and a simple wheat stalk design on the back. Although by 1976, the wheat design had already been replaced by the Lincoln Memorial. The D Mint mark on this coin indicates it was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the United States' primary coin-producing facilities. While pennies of this era were common in circulation, a small subset of 1976 D pennies gained special attention among collectors, and that's where the story gets interesting. To understand why this coin was made, we need to consider the context of the United States in 1976. That year marked the country's bicentennial, a celebration of 200 years since the Declaration of Independence. The U.S. Mint produced special coins to commemorate this milestone, including quarters, half dollars, and dollars with patriotic designs. While the penny itself didn't receive a special bicentennial motif, it was still minted in massive quantities to meet everyday transactional needs. Yet, despite the millions produced, certain features on 1976 D pennies set some apart, creating curiosity and demand among collectors. One key aspect of the 1976 D Lincoln penny is its composition. Like other pennies minted between 1962 and 1982, it is primarily copper, about 95%, with a small amount of zinc and tin. This combination gives the penny its familiar reddish tone. Over time, the copper develops a rich patina, which can add character and appeal to collectors. Unlike modern pennies, which are mostly zinc with a thin copper coating, these older coins have intrinsic metal content that enthusiasts appreciate. The design itself remained consistent with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, capturing a sense of continuity and historical reverence. However, some pennies from 1976 show subtle variations, including double die errors, slight off-center strikes, or unusual mint marks. These minor imperfections, rare as they are, can significantly increase a coin's value. So, what makes the 1976 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny particularly interesting to collectors? While most pennies from this year are common and worth only their face value, some coins were struck with tiny anomalies during production. These anomalies might include a doubled D mint mark, an unusual strike, or a slight die crack. Coins with these features are sought after because they are scarce, and scarcity is the key driver of value in the coin collecting world. Even small differences can create excitement among collectors, who are always on the lookout for examples that stand out from the millions of ordinary coins in circulation. Collectors also look closely at the coin's condition, which is officially graded on a scale from poor to mint state. A 1976 D penny in near-perfect condition, especially one with a rare error, can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on market demand. For instance, a 1976 D penny with a strong, clear strike and no wear might sell for $50 to $100 from an online coin dealer, while one with a rare double die error could reach $500 or more at auction. There are even stories of exceptional specimens, coins with extremely rare anomalies or flawless surfaces, that collectors have paid thousands to acquire. The coin's allure lies in this combination of everyday familiarity and hidden potential. If you think you might have a 1976 D Lincoln penny that could be valuable, knowing how to identify a real one is crucial. Genuine pennies from this year should have a clear D mint mark above the date on the obverse. The edge of the coin is smooth, and the copper surface should feel consistent, with no signs of plating over a different metal. Checking for errors requires careful observation under magnification. Collectors look for doubled features, off-center strikes, or unusual markings on the die. It's also important to compare your coin to known examples in reputable coin guides or auction records. Fakes exist, but careful attention to detail and consulting trusted sources will help ensure authenticity. Beyond its monetary value, the 1976 D penny carries some fascinating details that make it enjoyable to study. For example, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse is tiny, yet inside its miniature columns you can see the image of Abraham Lincoln himself if you look closely. This hidden detail is a little-known fact that amazes collectors and casual observers alike. Additionally, the 1976 penny represents a moment in American history when the country celebrated 200 years of independence, even if the penny itself wasn't a bicentennial design. Holding one is like holding a tiny connection to the past, a coin that passed through countless hands over decades. Collectors today love the 1976 D Lincoln penny not just for its potential value, but for the story it tells. It's a coin that can be found in a pocket change jar, a desk drawer, or a coin album, waiting to be discovered. Its modest appearance hides a deeper narrative about minting techniques, historical context, and the subtle anomalies that make certain coins rare. For many collectors, the excitement comes from the hunt itself, sorting through pennies to find that one coin that stands out, the one that could be worth much more than anyone expected. In the end, the 1976 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than just a piece of copper and zinc. It is a tiny relic of history, a symbol of a specific time in America, and a potential treasure for those who know what to look for. Whether you're a casual coin enthusiast or a serious collector, this penny invites curiosity. Could the next coin you pick up from a jar hold a rare error or an unusual strike? Could it be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the right collector? The story of the 1976 D penny reminds us that sometimes the most ordinary objects can carry extraordinary secrets, waiting quietly for someone to discover them. Next time you glance at a Lincoln penny, remember that even the smallest coin can hide history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. The 1976 D penny challenges us to look closer, to appreciate the details, and to consider that something seemingly insignificant could actually be remarkable. In the world of coin collecting, curiosity is the key, and every penny has a story worth uncovering. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that millions of Americans have passed through their fingers, yet only a few truly understand its story. A coin so common in pockets that it almost goes unnoticed, but hidden within it is history, craftsmanship, and sometimes surprising value. Today, we're uncovering the story of the 1978 Lincoln penny, a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but holds secrets that collectors have cherished for decades. The 1978 Lincoln penny, often called the Lincoln 1-cent coin, was part of the long-running series featuring Abraham Lincoln on the front. It's a coin that has been in circulation for decades, quietly making its way through wallets, cash registers, and coin jars across the United States. Unlike some rare coins that were produced in tiny numbers, the 1978 penny was minted in massive quantities. But what makes it interesting is not just the number of coins, but the story behind its creation, its subtle variations, and the small details that can make a difference for collectors. The Lincoln penny first appeared in 1909, celebrating the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. By 1978, the design had long been established. On the obverse, or front, you see the familiar profile of Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His careful engraving captures Lincoln in a dignified and thoughtful pose, a reminder of his leadership and legacy. The reverse, or back, in 1978, featured the Lincoln Memorial, which had been part of the design since 1959, replacing the original wheat ears from 1909. This was an era when coins weren't just currency, they were miniature portraits of history. The 1978 penny carries both a sense of continuity and the artistry of nearly 7 decades of minting. The 1978 penny was primarily made from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was standard for pennies of that period, making them heavier than the modern steel-based cents. The copper gives it that distinctive warm color, a shade that changes over time as the coin ages and develops natural toning. While the design itself was consistent with other years, small differences sometimes appear when the coins are struck at different mints, even when there is no mint mark. Coins produced in Philadelphia, for example, did not carry a mint mark in 1978, while those from Denver carried a small D. This absence of a mint mark is often what collectors refer to as a no mint mark coin, and it's exactly what makes certain 1978 pennies more sought after today. Errors and variations are part of what keeps coin collectors interested in otherwise ordinary coins. For the 1978 Lincoln penny, there are a few known anomalies that can dramatically affect value. Some pennies show doubled dies, where the inscriptions or date appear slightly doubled. Others may have small off-center strikes or unusual planchet errors, where the metal blank wasn't formed perfectly before being stamped. These quirks are rare, but they exist, and finding one in good condition can turn an otherwise everyday coin into a collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. At first glance, the 1978 penny may not seem rare, and in truth, millions were minted. But rarity isn't always about numbers. It's about condition and specific characteristics. A coin that has been carefully preserved, showing minimal wear and retaining its original luster, can be surprisingly valuable. Collectors prize coins that remain in near-perfect condition, often graded as MS65 or higher. These coins are sometimes worth significantly more than face value, simply because they are well-preserved examples of a coin nearly half a century old. Auction results give a clear picture of this value. In recent years, 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies in uncirculated condition have sold for anywhere from $20 to $200, depending on their grade and eye appeal. Coins with notable errors, such as doubled dies or misstrikes, have fetched even higher amounts, sometimes exceeding $500 or more. While these numbers might not compare to some of the extreme rarities in the coin world, they are still remarkable when you consider that a common penny from 1978 was once worth just 1 cent. The journey from a simple coin to a collector's treasure is a testament to the enduring appeal of these small pieces of history. Identifying a real 1978 penny is straightforward, but knowing whether it has collector value requires closer inspection. First, examine the date and details on the coin. Genuine 1978 pennies have a sharp, clear date, and the Lincoln image should be finely detailed. Check the edges for smoothness, as genuine coins are uniformly round and free of odd cuts. If you suspect an error or unusual feature, a magnifying glass can reveal doubled dies, off-center strikes, or other anomalies. Weighing the coin can also help. A real copper penny should feel heavier than a modern zinc-based one. Counterfeit coins exist, but for the 1978 Lincoln penny, they are uncommon. Knowledge, careful observation, and sometimes professional grading can ensure you know exactly what you have. Beyond value, the 1978 Lincoln penny has small surprises that make it fun to explore. Some coins exhibit beautiful toning, where the copper develops reddish, golden, or even rainbow-like hues over decades. Others have subtle dye variations, with tiny differences in Lincoln's hair, the lettering, or the memorial on the reverse. These are details that can only be appreciated up close and reveal the intricate process of coin minting. Collectors enjoy discovering these tiny quirks, knowing that each coin has its own personality, almost like a fingerprint. Collectors today love the 1978 Lincoln penny for a combination of reasons. It's a piece of history, a symbol of the 1970s era in America, and a relatively accessible entry point for people new to coin collecting. Unlike coins that are impossible to find without spending thousands, the 1978 penny allows collectors to enjoy the thrill of discovery without breaking the bank. Its familiar design, historical significance, and the potential for hidden errors make it a favorite among hobbyists. For many, it's a coin that sparks curiosity and encourages learning about history, minting processes, and the broader world of numismatics. Even decades after its creation, the 1978 Lincoln penny continues to tell stories. Each scratch, each toning mark, and each tiny error is a whisper of the past, a reminder that coins are more than just money. They are artifacts, small-time capsules of the nation's history. The next time you come across a 1978 penny, pause and take a closer look. You may be holding a piece of history, a potential collectible, or even a small treasure hiding in plain sight. The question isn't just what this coin is worth in dollars, but what it tells about the journey of money, craftsmanship, and the people who passed it along over the years. So, have you ever wondered how many of these ordinary coins hide extraordinary secrets? The 1978 Lincoln penny may look familiar, but its story is far from ordinary. Whether you find one in your pocket, a jar, or tucked away in an old collection, there's a chance that this small coin holds more than you ever imagined. Keep your eyes open, examine every detail, and maybe, just maybe, you'll uncover a hidden gem among the millions of pennies minted that year. History is often found in the smallest places, and sometimes it's right at your fingertips in the form of a simple 1978 Lincoln penny. This coin reminds us that the past is never far away, and even something as common as a penny can be a doorway to curiosity, learning, and discovery. Who knew that a coin so ordinary could have so many stories waiting to be uncovered? Next time you pick up a penny, look a little closer. You never know what history might be staring back at you. Imagine holding a tiny piece of history in your hand. So small, most people barely notice it. But hidden within could be a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and potentially valuable coins in American history, the 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. If you've ever wondered whether that old penny in your jar could change your life, this is the story you need to hear. The coin we're talking about is a 1-cent piece from 1980, part of the long-running Lincoln cent series. Abraham Lincoln has appeared on the penny since 1909, celebrating the 100th anniversary of his birth. This particular penny, however, has a story that goes beyond simply honoring the 16th President of the United States. On the surface, it looks just like any other Lincoln penny, but collectors know there's something extraordinary hidden in its seemingly ordinary design. The year 1980 was an interesting time for coin collectors and the U.S. Mint. The country was experiencing rising inflation, and coin production was in full swing. The Lincoln penny of that year was made primarily of copper, like most pennies before 1982, with a small portion of zinc. It features the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been standard since 1959. However, what sets the 1980 no-mint mark penny apart is not its design, but its rarity and unique journey into collectors' hands. No mint mark means the coin was minted in Philadelphia. In the world of coin collecting, mint marks are like signatures. They indicate where a coin was produced. In 1980, Philadelphia produced millions of Lincoln pennies, yet finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition today is surprisingly difficult. Over the decades, most pennies have been spent, lost, or worn down, leaving only a small fraction that remain nearly perfect. This scarcity is what starts to give the 1980 no-mint mark penny its value. Beyond its minting location, collectors also look for subtle errors and unique characteristics. Some 1980 pennies show doubling on the date or on Lincoln's profile, a mistake known as a double die. Others might have unusually strong strikes or minor imperfections that actually increase their desirability. Even a penny that looks ordinary can hold hidden features that make it incredibly valuable to the right collector. But why is this penny so valuable? For starters, the 1980 no-mint mark penny is considered rare in top grades. Most pennies from this era were circulated heavily, which means they show wear and tear. Coins that remain uncirculated, with sharp details, smooth surfaces, and bright color, are exceedingly rare. Collectors pay a premium for these coins, often hundreds or even thousands of times their original face value. In some extraordinary cases, professional grading services have certified 1980 no-mint mark pennies as perfect examples, and these coins have sold for astonishing amounts at auctions. For example, one 1980 Lincoln penny, graded in perfect condition, sold at a high-profile auction for over $500,000. These prices may seem unbelievable, especially for a coin most people overlook in their pocket change. But in the coin world, rarity, condition, and collector demand combine to create value far beyond what we might expect. It's this mix of history and scarcity that makes the 1980 no-mint mark penny such a coveted piece. If you happen to have a 1980 penny at home, you might wonder how to tell if it's one of the valuable ones or just a regular coin. The first step is to look at the date and mint mark. A 1980 penny without a D or S is from Philadelphia. Next, examine the coin's surface. Is it shiny or dull? Are the edges smooth or worn? Are the details on Lincoln's face and the Lincoln Memorial sharp and clear? For serious collectors, professional grading is often necessary. Grading services evaluate a coin's condition using strict criteria, and a high grade can make all the difference in value. There are also tricks for spotting counterfeit coins. High-value pennies are sometimes targets for forgery, so collectors learn to inspect weight, color, and even the coin's sound when dropped on a hard surface. Comparing your coin to certified examples online can also help verify authenticity. Even small scratches or signs of cleaning can significantly reduce a coin's value, so handling pennies carefully is essential. Some fun facts make the 1980 no-mint mark penny even more intriguing. Despite its seemingly ordinary appearance, this coin represents a transitional period in US coinage. Within just a few years, the composition of the penny would change from nearly pure copper to a mostly zinc core, making Preminus 1,982 pennies historically significant. The 1980 penny, sitting right on the edge of this shift, is like a snapshot of American currency just before a major change. It's also a reminder of how something so small, so commonplace, can carry a story stretching back decades. Collectors love this penny for many reasons. Its combination of rarity, historical context, and potential errors creates endless fascination. Owning one feels like holding a secret piece of history that most people will never see. The excitement of hunting for such coins, examining them, and understanding their unique features is what drives collectors to keep searching through jars, drawers, and rolls of pennies. For many, it's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the connection to the past, and the chance to own something truly extraordinary. Even today, the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny continues to spark curiosity and conversation. Every time a new example appears on the market, collectors watch closely. Auctions generate excitement, online forums buzz with speculation, and coin shows feature enthusiasts eager to examine each find. This tiny coin has created a world of stories, from historical insights to life-changing financial opportunities. So, the next time you pick up a penny, take a closer look. Among the millions produced, one might hold a secret waiting to be uncovered. The 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just metal. It's a reminder that history, value, and curiosity can all fit in the palm of your hand. Keep your eyes open, examine each coin carefully, and who knows, you might just be holding the coin that collectors dream about. The question is, could your penny be the next piece to make history? Imagine holding a coin in your hand that millions of Americans passed by every day, yet only a few truly understand its hidden value. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1991, minted in Denver, could quietly be one of the most intriguing pieces in your coin collection? Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1991 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but holds secrets that collectors around the country find absolutely fascinating. By the end of this video, you might never look at a penny the same way again. The 1991 D. Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series of Lincoln cents, first introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln on the centennial of his birth. By 1991, the Lincoln penny had already seen more than 8 decades of circulation. Its classic design features the familiar portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, a design sculpted by Victor David Brenner, and the reverse showcases the Lincoln Memorial, which had been standard since 1959. Despite its seemingly everyday appearance, the 1991 D penny carries both historical significance and unique features that make it noteworthy to coin enthusiasts. The year 1991 might seem recent in the grand scheme of American coinage, but it was a time when the US Mint was producing billions of pennies for circulation. The D Mint mark indicates that this particular coin was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the country's key facilities responsible for striking coins for general use. While most pennies were minted in Philadelphia and Denver, collectors often pay close attention to mint marks because they can influence a coin's rarity and ultimately its value. One of the defining features of the 1991 D penny is its composition. Made primarily of copper-plated zinc, this penny represents the Postminus 1982 formula, which shifted from mostly copper to a 97.5% zinc core with a thin copper coating. This change was driven by rising copper prices and the need for more cost-effective coin production. To the untrained eye, it looks just like the classic copper penny, but its lighter weight and different metallic makeup make it unique. For collectors, understanding these subtle differences is essential, especially when evaluating a coin's condition or potential errors. Speaking of errors, the 1991 D. Lincoln penny has a few varieties that have caught the attention of collectors. Some of these coins exhibit doubled dies, where the lettering or features on the coin appear slightly doubled due to a minting error. Others may show off-center strikes or minor die cracks, which are small lines that appear when the die used to strike the coin becomes worn or damaged. While not every 1991 D penny has these errors, finding one in pristine condition with a unique flaw can dramatically increase its value. So why is this penny considered rare or valuable? For the average coin, a 1991 D penny may be worth only its face value. But collectors know that condition, errors, and provenance can make a huge difference. Coins that have been carefully preserved in mint state, meaning they show no signs of wear, can command premiums among collectors. Additionally, the discovery of unusual die varieties or misprints has turned ordinary pennies into sought-after treasures. Rarity in this context doesn't mean that millions weren't minted, but rather that only a small percentage exist in near-perfect condition or with collectible errors. There are real-world examples that demonstrate just how collector interest translates into value. For instance, uncirculated 1991 D. Lincoln pennies in pristine condition have been listed by numismatic dealers for several dollars each, a significant increase from face value. Coins exhibiting noticeable errors, such as doubled dies or off-center strikes, have been auctioned for tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on the severity and uniqueness of the era. While these aren't million-dollar coins, they provide a fascinating glimpse into how something as common as a penny can become a collectible item with surprising worth. Identifying a genuine 1991 D penny is relatively straightforward, but requires careful attention. Start by checking the mint mark. A small D on the obverse side, just below the date, confirms it was minted in Denver. Examine the edges for smoothness and consistency, as genuine coins will not have irregular or jagged edges. Weight and metallic composition are also telling. A true 1991 D penny will weigh about 2.5 grams. Collectors often use magnification to inspect for doubling, die cracks, or other errors. Being meticulous in observation is key, because even minor discrepancies can significantly affect a coin's value. Here's a fun detail. While the 1991 D penny is generally common, it belongs to a fascinating period in US coin history when pennies were transitioning to their modern zinc-copper composition. This period also saw the early emergence of coins that could survive for decades without losing much detail due to the durable plating. It's not just a piece of currency, it's a small artifact of technological and economic shifts in America. Collectors love this coin today for several reasons. First, it represents the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most revered figures in American history. Second, it captures a transitional moment in coinage, where composition and minting techniques were evolving. Third, the potential for finding a rare die variety or error makes the hunt exciting. Even casual collectors can enjoy the thrill of spotting subtle differences that distinguish a common penny from a valuable collectible. Owning a 1991 D Lincoln penny is like holding a small piece of history that has passed through countless hands, each leaving its own story behind. The story doesn't end with just the coin itself. Every penny has a life beyond circulation. Some find their way into piggy banks, hidden drawers, or lost under couch cushions. A lucky few end up in coin collections, carefully preserved in albums or capsules. For collectors, each coin is a chance to connect with history, appreciate craftsmanship, and maybe even uncover a surprise. Imagine discovering a perfectly preserved 1991 D penny with a subtle error that turns it from a mundane coin into a small treasure. That sense of discovery is what keeps numismatists, both new and experienced, endlessly fascinated. So the next time you come across a 1991 D Lincoln penny, take a moment to look a little closer. Notice the shine of its copper plating, the precise features of Lincoln's profile, and the mint mark that tells its story. It's more than just a 1-cent coin. It's a snapshot of American history, a testament to careful craftsmanship, and for the keen-eyed collector, a gateway to a world where ordinary coins can carry extraordinary stories. Whether you are a seasoned collector or someone just curious about coins, the 1991 D Lincoln penny invites you to pause, inspect, and imagine the journey it has taken from the Denver Mint to your hand. In the end, every penny has a story waiting to be told. Some are simple, others carry rare features that ignite curiosity and fascination. The 1991 D Lincoln penny may appear ordinary at first glance, but when you examine it closely, it reveals layers of history, craftsmanship, and collectible potential that many might overlook. Keep your eyes open, and who knows, your next coin could be more valuable and more intriguing than you ever imagined. Imagine holding a tiny piece of history in the palm of your hand, a coin that has traveled through time, changing hands, and surviving decades, yet still whispers stories of the past. Among the millions of pennies minted in the United States, one quietly stands out: the 1979 Lincoln penny with a Denver Mint mark. At first glance, it may look like any ordinary 1-cent coin, but for collectors and history enthusiasts, it carries secrets and surprises that make it worth a closer look. The 1979 Denver Lincoln penny is part of a long line of Lincoln cents, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the penny revolutionized American coinage, moving away from symbolic designs to showcase a real historical figure. By 1979, this coin was firmly established in everyday life, used in wallets, jars, and cash registers across the country. But not all pennies are created equal, and even a coin from such a common year can hide unexpected value. The year 1979 may not immediately strike anyone as significant in coin collecting, but for the Denver Mint, it was a year of careful production. Millions of Lincoln pennies were struck in Denver that year, each bearing the familiar D mint mark beneath the date, indicating its origin. These coins were made primarily of a copper composition, 95% copper and 5% zinc, a standard mix that had been in use for decades. The obverse of the coin features Abraham Lincoln, his profile facing right, etched in fine detail, while the reverse proudly displays the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in place since 1959. While millions were produced, some 1979 D pennies have unique qualities that elevate their status among collectors. Errors during minting are one of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting, and the 1979 D penny is no exception. One of the more notable errors is the double die obverse, where Lincoln's face or the date appears slightly doubled. These subtle imperfections are invisible to the casual eye, but are highly sought after by numismatists. Another interesting variation is the weak strike, where the details of Lincoln's hair or the wheatless rim might appear faint or uneven. Each of these errors tells a story of the minting process, of machines and human oversight, and they transform a simple penny into a collectible gem. What makes this coin particularly intriguing is that while most 1979 D pennies are common, those with specific errors or in uncirculated condition are quite rare. A penny that has avoided the wear and tear of circulation for over 40 years can fetch a significant price, especially if it exhibits sharp details, a full mint luster, and no scratches or discoloration. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for these gems, scanning rolls of pennies, searching for that one coin that stands apart from the rest. In terms of market value, a standard circulated 1979 D penny might still be worth only its face value or a few cents to collectors. However, uncirculated examples can command a higher price, sometimes reaching into the tens of dollars if graded by a professional service. Double die variations, in particular, are even more valuable. Auction records have shown that such error coins from this year have sold for hundreds of dollars, depending on condition and clarity. Even a subtle doubling of the date or lettering can attract serious attention from collectors who understand the rarity and historical significance of these anomalies. Identifying a real 1979 D Lincoln penny versus a counterfeit or modified coin is straightforward if you know what to look for. Authentic coins will have consistent weight and dimensions, a smooth edge, and a sharp mint mark. For error coins, the doubling or weak strike will be naturally part of the original strike and not added afterward. Collectors often use magnifying lenses or microscopes to inspect details like the date, Lincoln's profile, and the lettering on the coin's reverse. Coins that appear artificially altered, cleaned excessively, or with suspiciously sharp errors are typically avoided, as their authenticity and value are compromised. Beyond its collectible value, the 1979 D penny has its share of fun and surprising details. For instance, it was minted during a period when the US economy was experiencing high inflation and rising metal costs. Yet pennies continue to be a staple of everyday transactions. Despite its small size and low face value, this coin represents an era when the nation was changing, both culturally and economically. Some coins have tiny die cracks or variations in color, from deep reddish copper to lighter golden hues, all of which can influence collector interest. Even the smallest details can tell a story, revealing how each penny traveled from the mint to countless pockets, cash drawers, and coin jars over the decades. Collectors today love the 1979 D Lincoln penny not only for its potential value, but also for its connection to history. It is a tangible link to the late 1970s, a period when Americans carried these coins in their daily lives, often unaware that some of them might later become sought-after collectibles. There is a quiet thrill in discovering a rare or uncirculated penny among everyday coins, a reminder that history can be found in the most ordinary objects. For many, collecting these pennies is about more than money. It is about preserving a piece of American heritage, appreciating the artistry of coin design, and participating in a community of like-minded enthusiasts who cherish these small yet meaningful artifacts. So, if you happen to come across a 1979 D Lincoln penny, take a closer look. Check its details, its mint mark, and whether it has any unusual features or errors. You might be holding a coin that is more than just a penny. It could be a small but significant slice of history, a rare collectible, or even a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. In a world filled with ordinary change, this tiny coin reminds us that sometimes the most remarkable stories are found in the smallest places. The next time you handle a penny, consider what secrets it might hold, and imagine the journey it has taken over decades, carrying with it both history and the potential for discovery. Every coin has a story, and the 1979 D Lincoln penny is no exception. Whether you are a casual observer, a history enthusiast, or a seasoned collector, it has the power to surprise, to educate, and to spark curiosity. Who knows, among the coins in your drawer or jar, the next remarkable find could be hiding, waiting for someone to notice its subtle brilliance. History is often in our hands, sometimes literally, and the 1979 D penny stands as a small, enduring testament to that truth. Have you ever held a coin in your hand and wondered if it could be worth far more than the face value stamped on it? What if I told you that a simple 1984 Lincoln penny, the kind you might have found in your pocket change decades ago, could secretly be a rare treasure sought after by collectors across the country? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that at first glance looks ordinary, but holds a subtle history that makes it extraordinary. The 1984 Lincoln penny, officially called the Lincoln cent, was part of a long-running series, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. For over 75 years, Lincoln pennies have circulated in wallets, cash registers, and coin jars all across America. The design is iconic. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial gracing the back, a symbol of both history and enduring value. But the 1984 no-mint mark penny isn't just another ordinary coin. There's something quietly remarkable about it that coin enthusiasts and collectors notice immediately. To understand this coin, we first need to look back at its creation. The year 1984 was a time of relative stability for the United States Mint. The country was deep into the Reagan era, and pennies were still primarily made from copper, unlike today's mostly zinc composition. Specifically, the 1984 pennies were made from 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them that familiar warm tone that generations have grown up recognizing. Unlike some years, the no-mint mark coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which historically does not stamp a mint mark on its coins. Design-wise, the 1984 Lincoln penny was nothing revolutionary. The obverse features Lincoln's portrait, finely detailed and dignified, a work that has survived several decades of subtle redesigns. The reverse, still showing the Lincoln Memorial, includes the familiar inscriptions: United States of America, EPLURBUS UNUM, and 1 cent. While these details are standard, there is one aspect of this penny that collectors pay close attention to: the quality and consistency of the strike. In some coins, small errors such as doubled dies or off-center strikes can make what looks ordinary suddenly extraordinary. While the 1984 no-mint mark penny was not mass-produced with known widespread errors, certain individual coins with exceptionally sharp details or rare minting anomalies have become sought after. So why is this penny considered rare or valuable? The answer isn't immediately obvious, and that's part of the intrigue. The 1984 penny itself was minted in large numbers, millions of them, which would suggest that they aren't scarce. However, rarity in coin collecting doesn't always mean few in existence. Sometimes it's about condition, history, or the small anomalies that appear by chance. For the 1984 no mint mark penny, value comes primarily from its condition and the sharpness of its strike. Coins that have never been circulated, those that are still in mint state, untouched by pockets or coin rolls, can command significantly higher prices. A perfect 1984 penny in flawless condition, graded by professional coin services, might sell for several $100s, whereas a common circulated version is still just worth face value. To illustrate this, collectors have noted auction sales where pristine examples of 1984 no mint mark pennies sold for impressive amounts. One high-grade specimen, rated as M-65 by a professional grading company, fetched a surprising price close to $200 in a specialized coin auction. Another example, slightly lower in grade but exceptionally well preserved, sold for over $100, far above what most people would expect for a coin they might find in a jar at home. These sales demonstrate that even coins from recent decades can hold hidden value if the right conditions are met. Identifying a genuine 1984 no mint mark penny is simpler than you might think, but it does require careful observation. First, check the mint mark area. A true Philadelphia coin from 1984 will have no letter above the date. Next, examine the edges and surface of the coin. Authentic pennies have a smooth, even rim, and the inscriptions should be crisp and clear. Weight can also help. A genuine 1984 penny weighs approximately 3.11 grams. Fake or altered coins may have irregularities in color, texture, or thickness, so handling them with care and comparing them to verified examples is always recommended. For those serious about selling or collecting, a professional grading service can provide official certification, which often increases both value and buyer confidence. Beyond its market value, the 1984 no mint mark penny has some surprising details that make it a joy to explore. For example, the Lincoln Memorial on the back is actually filled with tiny, intricate lines that depict the building's columns. Up close, the craftsmanship is remarkable, considering the penny is just 19 millimeters in diameter. Another fun fact: this penny comes from a period just before the US. Mint began transitioning to more zinc-based compositions in 1982, which means older pennies like this one have a heavier, richer feel that many collectors prefer. Holding a copper-heavy coin from the 1980s gives a tangible connection to history, a small piece of the past that has survived decades of circulation. Collectors today are drawn to the 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny for several reasons. It represents the intersection of modern and historical minting, a coin that is familiar yet can surprise with hidden value. Its copper composition, iconic design, and potential for exceptional mint state condition make it a standout piece for anyone building a collection. Even casual collectors appreciate that this penny is easy to identify and store, yet can still hold a story worth telling. Some collectors even enjoy the hunt, searching through change, coin rolls, or estate collections to find that one perfect example, a pursuit that can be thrilling and rewarding. The enduring appeal of the 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny lies in its quiet promise. At first glance, it may seem like just another coin, yet it holds a subtle allure for those willing to look closely. Its combination of historical context, collectible condition, and occasional minting anomalies ensures that it remains a point of curiosity and interest in the coin world. Each penny carries not only the image of a president, but a connection to the era in which it was made, the people who handled it, and the collectors who recognize its value today. If you happen to come across a 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny in your collection, wallet, or that old jar of coins tucked away, it's worth taking a closer look. You might be holding more than just copper. You might be holding a rare piece of history with the potential to surprise, educate, and even change a collector's perspective on value. Coins like this remind us that sometimes the most ordinary things can hide the most extraordinary stories. And the story of the 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny is still unfolding, one discovery at a time. So next time you reach into your pocket change, don't just see cents, see history. See the subtle clues of rarity, the intricate designs that survived decades, and the quiet thrill that comes with holding a piece of the past. The 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a connection, a mystery, and for some, a hidden treasure waiting to be found. Keep your eyes open, and who knows, you might just find the story of a lifetime in the palm of your hand.